It was a brisk fall evening in Chicago, and David Russell had just returned home from another fruitless date. At 42, with a steady career in marketing, a penthouse apartment downtown, and a gym-honed physique, he couldn't figure out why things never clicked with women. It wasn't that he didn't get dates, he did. But they rarely led to anything lasting or passionate. Most women seemed interested at first, then quickly cooled off. He'd hear the familiar phrases like, "You're such a nice guy," or "You deserve someone amazing," right before they disappeared for good. That night, David called his longtime friend Marcus, a confident, charismatic man who always seemed to have women around him, women who pursued him. Marcus laughed knowingly as David vented his frustrations. "Man, you're playing the game wrong," he said. "There are rules to this. Hidden ones. You follow them, and women won't just like you. They'll crave your presence. They'll beg to see you again." David rolled his eyes. Hidden rules. That sounds like some internet gimmick. Marcus chuckled. "It's not. Psychology. Energy. Mystery. You're too available. Too safe. Women don't want to mother a man. They want to feel something. Tension, excitement, growth. Come to the lounge on Friday. Watch and learn." David showed up that Friday at a modern lounge tucked in a quiet street in the West Loop. Marcus was already there, casually leaning against the bar, a drink in hand. Within minutes, two women approached Marcus, laughing and lightly touching his arm as if drawn in by some magnetic force. David observed quietly, sipping a whiskey neat. One of the women glanced his way, smiled, then turned her attention back to Marcus. Later, Marcus pulled David aside and explained the first hidden rule. You must value your time more than theirs. You give off the vibe that a woman is the center of your attention. That's flattering for 5 minutes. After that, it's smothering. Make your time a privilege, not a given. David absorbed the lesson. He'd always cleared his schedule, rearranged plans, and jumped at any opportunity to meet. It came from a place of excitement and hope, but he now realized how it must have appeared. Desperate. Over the next few weeks, David made changes. Subtle ones. He stopped replying instantly to messages. He didn't rearrange his schedule for a date. He offered 2 options and stuck to them. First, it felt wrong. Cold even. But the results were undeniable. One woman, Jessica, whom he met at a gallery, texted him 3 times in one day after he casually mentioned he was only free the following Thursday. She showed up that Thursday glowing, eager, curious. That was new. Marcus wasn't done. Second rule, he said one night over a game of pool. Don't reveal everything about yourself. Be a slow burn mystery. Your puzzle, not a brochure. Make her want to ask more. David thought back to his previous relationships, how he'd spill his heart out on the 2nd or 3rd date. His hobbies, fears, dreams, everything. Maybe that was too much, too soon. He adjusted. On his next few dates, David kept things light but intriguing. He gave brief but interesting answers. Hinted at passions without going into deep explanations. When a woman asked about his past relationships, he smiled and said, "That's a story for another night." Their eyes lit up. The women leaned in more. They laughed louder. One date ended with Rebecca whispering, "I can't figure you out, and I like that." Marcus nodded approvingly when David told him. "Exactly. Keep her guessing." Here's the third rule. Show leadership, make decisions. Too many guys think letting her pick everything is polite. It's not. It's passive. Take charge respectfully. David recalled a date where he asked, "Where do you want to go?" And the woman replied, "I don't know," looking bored. Now he planned the date with purpose. "There's this wine bar with live jazz. I'll pick you up at 7. Women responded with admiration and anticipation. Leadership didn't mean being controlling, it meant having vision. On a date with Marissa, a sharp business consultant, David took her to a rooftop bar overlooking the lake. They talked about ambition, travel, legacy. She looked at him differently, like someone who had direction, someone worth investing in. She texted him the next morning. "Last night was something else." When can I see you again? Rule 4 came during a late-night walk through Millennium Park. Marcus and David had just left a networking mixer where David had been the center of attention for once. Marcus clapped him on the back. You've got it now. But don't forget, emotional control. Never lose composure. If you get reactive, jealous, needy, you kill attraction. A woman tests you not because she's mean. She wants to feel your strength. David knew what Marcus meant. He'd once gotten flustered when a woman mentioned her male best friend. It ended awkwardly. Now, when faced with situations that once made him insecure, David leaned into calmness. When Jenna joked about her attractive trainer, he smiled and replied, "You've got good taste." His response disarmed her. She stared at him with new interest, as if silently questioning, how is he so composed? Later that night she told him, "You're different. Most men would have made a scene. I respect that." The final rule came during an unexpected twist. David met Claire at a charity event. She was stunning, warm, and surprisingly forward. She texted him daily, often with flirty messages. But after their third date, she grew distant. One-word replies. Cancelled plans. Old David would have chased, pleaded, sought closure. Instead, he followed Marcus's fifth rule. Have purpose beyond women. David focused on work, signed up for a business summit, hit the gym harder, and poured himself into writing a novel he'd been putting off for years. 2 weeks later, Claire texted, "Hey, you've been quiet. I miss talking to you." David replied an hour later, "Been busy building. Hope you're well." She was intrigued. They met again. This time she leaned into his world. She asked about his writing, his ambitions. She didn't want to lose him to his purpose. And that was the point. David now understood. Women weren't drawn to men who begged for their time. They were drawn to men who had value, who had direction, who radiated calm leadership and mystery. And women weren't just liking him now. They were calling him, texting first, initiating plans. They were begging to see him again. Months later, David stood outside that same lounge, looking in the mirror of his car before stepping inside. Confident, sharp-dressed, and self-assured. He saw a man transformed. He wasn't chasing anymore. He was attracting. The hidden rules weren't tricks. They were truths. And once mastered, they changed everything. Inside the lounge, he spotted Marcus, drink in hand, a proud grin on his face. David walked in, head high, already catching the eyes of 2 women nearby. The game had changed, and he was finally playing to win.